Dr. Cindy Bigbie. How are you?
Doing pretty good this morning. How are you?
Good. We're gonna dive into why that question isn't just a passive question, and it's something that's really important. But before we do that, I wanted to first welcome you, Dr. Bigbie, to the podcast, the Bird Boot Camp podcast today.
So, presence.
Agreeing or believing is believing also in like I don't need to believe you
I
or
don't have
agree
to
with you. I
believe
just
you.
need
I
to
can hear
I just
you.
need to articulate what you believe.
Correct.
Is
I
that what you're
can
saying?
hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can reflect back. I can know what you're saying, right? Um, that's going to get you closer to connection than how we usually respond in a moment. Even if you don't believe, even if you could just reflect back what you're hearing someone say, because now they're having an
Oh, I
experience.
love I love this. I'm sorry. I'm learning so much right now. I love it. Keep going. I hope everybody has their pens out because some of the things that Dr. Bigby is saying right now is that, like agreeing and believing with somebody else does not mean that's not you don't have to agree and believe to have the connection. Empathy is the
No.
connection and empathy is just like understanding what they're saying, right?
Correct. And here's the third component, which is the
Okay.
blue piece on this screen, needs, which all the colors, by the way, needs mean some things. Yellow for observation, shining a light. Red for fiery feelings, heart, right? Needs are blue because they're universal. We don't like the word need typically in our society because we don't want to ever appear needy, right? But needs in NVC, Marshall, I think is probably his most famous quote ever, and I love it, is that all conflict is a tragic expression of an unmet need. All
Mm,
conflict is a tragic expression of an unmet need. So if you're having conflict in your life, and if you're a human being, you probably are, and all
mm,
conflict is a tragic expression of an unmet need. So if you're having conflict in your life, and if you're a human being, you probably are in one way or another. Underneath that conflict, no matter what is being said, there's actually a need.
mm,
And we are real, no one's taught us this. So we certainly never speak in a conversation about the need. So listening, giving empathy to someone is, besides what's coming out of their mouth, what's the need? What is the need that's happening for them? Again, on the other side of this piece of paper are all the universal human needs. So, and you don't even have to get it right. When you're in empathy with someone and someone's upset and you're reflecting back, giving them full presence, and then you're just taking needs guesses. Like, so, is this about, like, is there something here that you're wanting some more stability? Is that what this is about? You just take a guess. Just
mm.
that alone is going to be helpful in creating connection between you and the other person, and for sure for the other person with themselves, you know. And imagine being in an argument with someone, and rather than doing the things that we typically do, which is to explain or threaten or correct, or make a joke, that's a whole nother class I do on other conversation responses, things that we do that are not empathy, to give you the contrast, right? Um, but imagine being in an argument with someone, and rather doing any of those things, the person just takes a need guess. Is what you're trying to say, that you have a need for, fill in the need? It doesn't even matter what it is. Could you just see how that just almost like it stunts the conflict
Mm.
right there? Because we're not, all of a sudden you're listening, you're curious about this. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
big.
I like that. Let me ask you to back up really quickly, and then we're because I want to make sure that I got this point complete because we were talking about empathy, and I got present. You said three things. We have presence when we're empathetic. We reflecting. What was the third one? I don't think I caught that. Is it
Taking the
needs?
needs guesses.
Okay, okay. Needs guesses. Okay,
Needs
got it.
guesses, because if
And,
all conflict is about a need, what we're trying to do here, NVC is really a language, like Spanish is a language. You're saying all this crap to me in this moment, and I'm not liking it. Do I have enough? Have I built enough strength to be able to look past whatever you're saying and think about what your need is? Can I do that?
mm,
If I
wow.
can't
Okay.
do that because I'm too triggered, I have to go over here to wait and do some workout over here. to shift myself so that I have a lot more clarity about what were my own needs that were coming up in that moment. Can I be fully connected to those in a way that now I have more space to really lean into wondering about what your needs are, right?
So
That's the
pre-
work we're doing.
so presence, reflecting, and guessing needs. Those are that's really empathy. And then so that's what it is. Do you mind taking a moment to explain? And I think this might be opposite in an obvious answer, but hearing it from your words and your articulation will be really helpful. What what isn't empathy?
Well, I like to contrast it. We call it other conversational responses. And there are so
Everything else.
pretty much, and usually if you think about the way that we interact with one another, 99.9% of the time we're using those other conversation responses. It's very rare that anybody responds by reflecting, giving presence, taking needs guesses. So there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, uh, and you have to think we respond to people in neutral situations, like a friend comes and they're telling us about an issue that they've got. We've got a whole repertoire. We might give advice, we might champion, we might play the devil's advocate, we might one
Mm,
up, um, we might console. Um, there's so many of them. We might joke, give
wow.
sarcastic humor, minimize, oh, that's not a big deal, get over it. These are all the different ways. If you're in a conflict with someone, if you're actually in the fight, we do other things like we correct, no, it wasn't that way, it was this way, or we explain, like, no,
Mm,
I was late because there was a backup on I-10. We do all these things. We threaten, we blame. This isn't about me, it's about you. We have a whole humongous toolbox of what I call other conversation responses. None of them are empathy. And I've been doing this for a very long time. And I can tell you the majority of the time, all people want really in any circumstance is that presence, reflecting, needs guessing. That's it. And then it's not like you're going to do away with other conversation responses. But first, let's really build our empathy muscle. And also, let's not just respond out of habit. We respond out of habit. However many years old you are, the way that you're responding, that's how you've been doing it your whole life. So this
mm,
requires like rerouting your knee-jerk response, which is not an easy thing
yeah.
to.
No, no, it's not. Do you feel that there
Oh,
are a lot
right
of
there, that's not
people?
a feeling right there.
Um, do
Do
you
you think?
observe?
Do you think
Do
that
you observe?
or
Do you
observe?
observe? I think this is the right NVC term. Do you observe? Thank you for correcting me, by the way. Do you observe that most people that you interact with mistake empathy? They think they're empathetic, or empathy is not necessarily compassion. So do you think the people that are actually sympathetic, or other other responses in that realm, do you think a lot of those, do you observe that a lot of those people coin themselves as empaths, and they actually believe that they're being empathetic, when the reality is that they're really not? And based on the observations that you're making, when you hear them converse with other people, they're being more sympathetic, or other conversational type responses. How often do you see someone's definition of empathy just being off, period?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the answer that I have for that is it's not so much about like, are they in alignment with the definition of empathy as much as is what they're doing going to serve towards connection or not? That's my biggest thing. Like, is this going to move us more towards connection or is this going to move us more towards disconnection? And again, the definition of connection being able to be seen, heard, and valued without judgment. So
Mm,
even things like, you'll get into this in the course too, even things like relating. A lot of people, that's another conversational response that people use, relating, right? Oh, yeah, I had the same exact experience, blah, 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 like, and they go into it. Well, and if you notice, like, that relating might not fit the definition of connection. If the definition of connection is being able to be seen, heard, and valued without judgment, how is relating maybe not serving towards that definition? Do you have any idea on that, Devin?
mm, mm. And I think it's a sympathetic response. That's where my mind goes. And
It could
I
be
heard Dr. Brene
sympathetic,
Brown.
yeah.
I
Okay,
heard
so let me
Dr.
just,
Brene Brown say this before. She
uh,
said that
uh,
sympathy is feeling uh, uh, for people, and empathy is being with people in their feelings.
yeah, I would agree with that. I
Something
would
along
also
those
say the
lines.
reason why I think sometimes relating does not serve the definition of connection, because when people relate, all of a sudden the conversation now is back on that person, not on the original person. So the person that started the conversation might be like, is this about you or is it about me? Like, I want to make sure that, remember, the definition is being able to be seen, heard, and valued without judgment. Now all of a
I
sudden
just wrote that down in big letters. I love that line that you've repeated a few times. That connection is being seen, heard, and valued without judgment. Such a great
correct.
definition.
I mean, well, and it's not just like, see, to me, that's what takes connection away from an abstract concept to a replicable, concrete. Like, I can teach people, I'm going to give you the skills right here. I'm talking about many of them. How do we make sure that people are seen, heard, and valued without judgment? That's how we're going to do
And
it.
that's where you're talking about the operationalization of this whole thing, right? Like how we can
Correct.
actually use the tactics.
Well, and when you come into the Bigbie method, we have a leveling up system. Once you go deeper into the system, we have a leveling up system, and I give feedback to people. We actually give you feedback on your empathy process, on your ability to speak without judgment. I give you feedback on that, so you'll know, where am I in the system? Am I able to do all these things? And not just you, but if you're a business and you're wanting to see, like, all of your people that are working for you, how skilled up are they in using these processes? I can give reports back to businesses on, here's where your people are in the system. So you can actually
Mm-hmm.
take, again, what people have always thought of as these soft skills and turn them into measurable skills. So I think a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I hope everyone is really, I actually hope's a bad strategy. I know everybody, if they're paying attention to right now, is really learning something, because I mean, these are some of the most important skills that I've learned as an entrepreneur. I don't even think you would say that, hey, I've perfected these, but you're much further along than most every human being that I've met. And so being able to just hear you talk about it, and how it's almost like conceptual, to where every, like, observations, feelings, needs, and requests are all one process, but they all have like their own little nuances. And I love judgment versus observation. I love feelings versus thoughts. And then if we were to keep going, it would be needs versus
Strategies.
strategies. Okay,
Yes,
and then and
the
then
needs
talk about
versus
that.
strategies. Needs are universal. That's why something is a need if it's something everybody in the world wants. Everybody in the world wants peace. Everybody in the world wants security. Everybody wants love, connection. Those are all of our universal human needs. Strategies are individualized ways of getting your needs met. When we fight, we usually fight about strategies, right? So everybody wants fun, but you like to go to San Francisco Giants game for fun, right? And somebody else, that might not be their strategy for fun, right? But so you could fight, like, yeah, I want to go to the game, and the other person's like, no, I don't feel like going to the game. And then next thing you know, you're in a fight. Whereas if you started off with, like, well, I really have a huge need for fun, right? Okay, well, now, like, it opens up the world. Like, there's lots of ways to get, there are lots of strategies towards fun. What can we come up with that's maybe gonna work for your need for fun and my need for fun? Boom! Now we have a place where we can actually agree upon, right? So yeah,
I love that.
having this distinction between needs and strategies, and starting to see that when we're fighting, we're usually fighting about strategies and have no idea even of what the needs are. Nobody's taught us that that's at the crux of all of the conflict. So that's
So you
needs.
talk.
Go ahead.
Yep. Yep. When you talked about, so that's needs versus strategy, right? And
Hmm.
and you talked about need. You talked about this whole process can be either something, in essence, that you're driving, or if I'm somebody that needs to communicate, I can also drive this. So if let's put ourselves in maybe an employee employer situation, or leader and teammate situation, and I'm a team member and I have an observation, I need to be able to go to my leader and be able to have this conversation and guess their needs, right? Maybe we could do a practice rep or two after we get through requests. But then there's also the opposite way where I'm the leader and I see team member and I have to start with observation and go through O, F, and R. You're saying that when you're somebody, either way, in either situation on this needs bucket, you're really trying to just take your best guess, which, by the way, takes vulnerability. And I know when I first heard take your best guess at what somebody needs, my first thing in my amygdala, my fight flight went, hey, what if I'm wrong? This person's gonna we're gonna go apart. Like it's not gonna bring us closer together. What if they think that I'm misunderstanding them, right? What if their observation is I'm misunderstanding what their needs actually are? Will that drive us further away or bring us closer together?
My experience has been what happens is if a person thinks that you're not on target with the need, they'll say things. They'll say, no, it's not that, or or even like, you're not listening to a word I'm saying. So then you stay in the empathy line. Yes. So you're having some thoughts that I'm not understanding you. And I'm guessing that, in the moment you're feeling really pretty irate about that. And you really want to make sure that there's some understanding and some care here. Is that it? So you just stay right in empathy with that person. And is that it, by the way, as a request? Lots to say about requests versus demands. And there's also different kinds of requests. There's something called an action request, something called a connecting request. Connecting request, by the way, is a game changer. But again, these are all lessons unto themselves. But yeah, am I right about that? Did I get you right? That's checking in. Am I on target with your needs? Like, even if you get off, the person's going to say something and you can still stay in empathy with whatever you were off on. And that will eventually have that person have an experience of being seen, heard, and valued without judgment, right? So all of a sudden, like,
Mm-hmm.
things calm down because you are really leaning in, trying to get where I'm coming from. So all of a sudden, a little bit more like just de-escalation of the situation because you really are wanting to hear me, wanting to get me, even if you make a wrong guess.
And I love the word de-escalation that you said, because when you going back to Dr. Rosenberg, and please correct me if I'm wrong here because I don't know his full history, but I've read the book twice now, and it seems to me that this was born out of his need, a request based on his profession to mitigate or mediate war, to be able
Mm.
to, I mean, literally nonviolent communication, and that's giving some context to where the title comes from. Is this man comes up with this language in his clinical practice. He's a psychologist.
He was a
Tests
clinical
it, tests it,
psychologist.
tests it, tests it, and then takes it out to most the highest conflict situation you could possibly go, where two sides are trying to drop bombs on each other and you're trying to
Mhm.
get them to not drop bombs on each other, and was very successful at this observation, feeling, needs, requests format in order to do that. And so um, what I'd like to do is finish with request and talk about request versus demand. You did a little bit, and then I'd kind of like you to wrap us all together and basically go through. Maybe you and I can do a practice rep of just going through the whole thing together. Maybe you can set a stage from the Bigbie method, maybe one of the pull out one of the examples, the practice reps that you used, and then we can try to pull this all together as part one. And I think this has been a great intro lesson to NVC and the Bigbie method. So how does that sound? You want to finish out with requests versus demands and do one big kind of loop back and practice? Well,
Sure,
you help me practice my empathy and OFNR.
sure. Yeah, so the green is for go, which my guess is you probably like that because you seem like you want to go, you want things to happen, right? So this whole system isn't just about like thinking about the needs and like, that we get to the strategies. Requests are the same as strategies, okay? It's this idea of like, okay, now we've surfaced the needs. We know what's going on for you need wise. We know what's going on for me needs wise. Okay, how can we go forward in a way? So requests as opposed to demands. Um, And this is, again, a whole lesson unto itself. Uh, you know, something is a request if somebody can say no to it, and the person receiving it is okay, right? Oftentimes we make requests and, excuse me, demands, and they're couched as if they're requests, but they're not really requests. Because if someone's going to say no to it and you're going to be upset about it, guess what? That's really not it's not a really a request, it's a demand. So when we get down to this box, we really want to make sure that we have the ability to make a request. And we've done enough stuff with ourselves here over in the weight area, if need be, so that when we go into requests, it's truly a request. Um, Before we even go into action requests, which is really the strategies, there's another kind of request that we teach in NVC called connecting requests, and that really helps us just to have flow back and forth on the dance floor. I'll try to hit on this just super quick. So say you start an empathy for someone. Yeah, I noticed the other day when you came into the room and you had a pile of papers on your desk. I'm guessing that you were feeling super overwhelmed about that and really needing some support and understanding. Is that about right? By the way, that's a request. That's a connecting
Okay.
request. And I get you.
That's
Say
not needs. That's not confirming their needs.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not
that's
saying,
just,
hey,
well,
do I
that's
have your needs right?
confirming your needs. That's a connecting request. Am I connecting around your needs? Am I getting you? That's what's called a connecting request, and there's several of them.
Okay.
Say the
Got it.
person says yes, just for simplicity purposes. Then you can say, are you open to hearing a little bit about how that was for me? That is another connecting request. We don't usually do that. We just launch into what we want to say. We don't make sure that the person has a level of openness to hear from us, right? So say you say, yeah, are you open to hearing how that was for me? Notice you started with empathy first. So by the time you get here and you ask, are you open to hearing how that was for me? Usually the person is pretty open, even quote tough folks, right? So then you step over here into expression. Yeah, well, when I saw those papers on the desk, I too was feeling really overwhelmed, and because I just care so much about the company, and I have a huge need for effectiveness, and I'm wondering what you're hearing, like what's going on for me need wise. That's another connecting request. Are you actually hearing my need? Often at this point, the person's going to get defensive and say other things that are not needs. They'll probably say, I don't know what the big deal is. Like, you're always so worried about that. Say this, well, then you'll step right on over here to empathy. Yeah, so you're having some thoughts that you don't know what the big deal is, and probably feeling a bit alarmed by what I just shared, and maybe wanting some safety in the conversation. Am I on target with that? And they say yes. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay, cool. Can I just keep going? So yeah, they say yes. So yeah, yeah, it was when I saw the papers, I was feeling super overwhelmed, and it was about effectiveness, and I was feeling torn because I know I've seen you many other times where the job is, done when we ask it to be done. So I was feeling torn, and I was needing effectiveness, but I was also just feeling confused and just wanting some clarity. And I'm wondering, I'm wondering what you're taking away, what my needs are. And say the person in that moment says, yeah, you're just needing some effectiveness and, also just maybe some clarity. Then there's another connecting request. Yeah, I'm wondering how was that for you just to hear that part of what I have to say? That's another connecting request. We never ask that one.
mm,
Never.
mm, mm,
Because
mm,
you know why? Because the other person's probably going to be upset, and we don't want to have them be upset, right? But guess what? That person's thinking those things anyways. So much better to get it out into the conversation. So say the person shares, then you just step right on. So those connecting requests, if you saw, they help us to connect to each other's needs, and they help us to move back and forth in the dialogue
mm,
and making sure that everybody's being seen, heard, and valued without judgment on both sides of the
mm,
equation, right? Thus, connection is what happens. Okay.
mm,
Once you get to
mm,
that point, then you can say, okay, well, I'm hearing you need some clarity and effectiveness, and you need some safety here and some understanding. How do we want to move forward? That's when you move into action requests. Action requests are the strategies, is you're going to come up with very specific, actionable, positive, stated in positive terms. How are we going to go forward? What's the game plan? This is the part that management really likes, because this is where you usually manage at this level. you move to strategy. But oftentimes you're missing something in the strategy because you haven't unearthed the need. So you might come up with a strategy that's not even really on point with what the need is if you haven't unearthed
Mm-hmm.
the need. So that kind of gives you a little bit of how this whole thing works and the flow and where all the different pieces come in.
Well, it's an incredible visual, and I'm glad you pulled this up because it's really helped me. I thought it was a little bit more like, hey, let me connect with you and let me like hear your requests and then kind of combo done, rather than, hey, you're actually really jumping back and forth between empathy and understanding of the person you're speaking with versus expressing your own, having your own observations and feelings and needs and requests, and kind of the dance, as you mentioned, of those things back and forth is really where the beauty of this comes in. And obviously, if you're hearing this, y'all, for the first time, this is Dr. Bigbie, who she's training people every day. This is what she does for a living on this, and so she's obviously very fluid and able to go back and forth. Don't get frustrated if you're just learning this and you go try it and you're going to be really bad at it for the first few times. I'm still not great at it. I'm much better than I was. Like, you even caught me a couple times exchanging um, judgments for observations in just normal, even when there's not conflict, right? Which is a great way to practice it, is when there's no conflict and there's not high stakes, is to start to speak this way in these four. I love how you've colored out the buckets here in these four observations, not judgments; feelings, not thoughts; needs, not strategies; and requests, not demands. And so, what? Thank you
Can I
for.
just say something? Can I interrupt you
Please,
real
please,
quick
please,
here?
please.
Just
Yeah.
because of what you just said, I think is really, really important. Okay. It's a practice. It's a practice. You will not, okay, I just gave you some good verbal information for the last hour, however long we've talked about. I have heard that Marshall Rosenberg said he wished he never wrote the book. He wished he never wrote that book because he wants people to understand this is not verbal information that you read about and then you own. It's not that way. Yes, you need the verbal information to start to have some understanding, but it's a practice. You don't automatically, change your thinking process and how you respond in your communication overnight or by me talking to you for 50 minutes. Not going to happen. Even the people that take my, the first 8 weeks, I usually say, when you come in, you're unconsciously unskilled. What you don't even know that these things are possible and that there is a way to without a doubt create connection, even in very conflict situations, right? At the end of 8 weeks, I often say you're in a worse place now. Now you are what I call consciously unskilled. Okay. Now you know and you have all of it, but you still don't really do it. You don't do it on the regular. Okay. You have to commit to the practice, which is it's a big hurdle for me, by the way, as a business person, because people are so busy and they're so busy. And yet I just keep sitting here like, what is more important than learning how to connect? It's as you said at the very beginning of this whole thing, it's the hub of every single thing that we do. So yeah, it's a bit of a commitment to really get it down. And for sure, if this is the first year hearing of this, don't beat yourself up at all. Even if you're 8 weeks in, can't beat yourself up. Even me, I've been doing it for, I don't know, 15 years or so. I'm not perfect with this. It's an evolving thing, totally an evolving thing. And the more you stay with it and the more you practice, the more it starts to come alive. But it's a process.
Well, I know that I've learned a ton, and I already know a good bit about NBC, and at least from an informative standpoint. And we are actively practicing it. And I have my need sheets. I wish I had it right in front of me. I don't have it right in front of me. It's in my backpack, but I have my need sheet and my feeling sheet, and we bring it out in meetings. And everybody knows that we are practicing this style of communication. And here's what I'll tell you: if you're the leader in your life, and you are, because it's a choice to be a leader. It's not a title that's bestowed upon you. If you're a parent, PTA president, leader of a company, where at the very least, you're the leader of your own life and all the other communications that you're going to have. You can make the choice with other people. You can make the choice to be a leader. And this is the language of leadership, right? This is the language of winners. This is not the language of losers. If you're talking in judgments and thoughts and strategies and demands, then you're practicing the language of a losing mentality. And if you are practicing NVC, you are practicing what a leader should always aspire to be, and that is the communicator of their business and the communicator of their mission. And so I would ask you the final question before we go on an 8-week Bigbie method training with myself and my leadership team, and we circle back for a deeper dive into NVC. I would ask you, what is your mission? What is the mission with the Bigbie method, and what's the vision that you have on how your teachings will impact the world?
Well, my mission is to bring operationalized peace to millions of people. Like, that's what I want to do. I am very clear that there is way too much conflict out there in the world, and most people don't know how to get out of that or use conflict in a way towards connection. And I think I really do have the answer to that. That's a pretty bold statement to make, but I stand way behind it, and I am doing everything in my earthly power to get this, what I think of as human technology, to the masses. So, yeah, any help out there to move this with me? I really don't think that there's anything more important than that.
I
And
agree. And you could
to
go ahead,
find out
please.
more about the Bigbie method, just look at, thebigbiemethod.com. That's where you'll find information about our courses. I actually have a book coming out May 5th. It's in dedication to my mom, who passed last year on May 5th, and a lot of the work a lot of this work has really got to do with generational trauma and how it showed up in my life, and the work that I did personally that was very connected to my mom. So yeah, I've got a book coming out about my personal journey with this and historical trauma, and the work that we're doing at the Bigbie Method. That'll be out in May 5th, 2023. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share, Devin.
100%, and we look forward to having you back on the podcast. The Burn Nation might not see you for a couple more months, but I'm going to see you this week and every week after. I'm very excited about what needles that we can move when, as the leader of the organization, the visionary, like me, taking this at the highest level of sincerity and seriousness is the only way that it gets driven down deep into the organization, because the organization or the family or the PTA group is a mirror reflection of their leader. And that is a universal leadership law. Shout out to John C. Maxwell. But I really hope everybody learned a lot. Like Dr. Bigbie said, go to the bigbie-method.com, become a student of the game. If you're serious about entrepreneurship, if you're serious about kind of blowing your life open and going to the moon like we are here at Burn Boot Camp, well, then the only way you get there is by communicating with yourself and others in the most effective way possible. And there's nothing out there that's better than this, and there's no one out there that is a better steward of Dr. Rosenberg's work than you, Dr. Bigbie. So thank you so much for being here today on the Burn Boot Camp podcast. And is there anything else that you'd like to say before we take off?
I don't think so. I really appreciate being here, and yeah, just I guess make sure you do your self-paced stuff before you come into the class this week, because that's
Oh,
part
I
of
will.
it, right? Like, taking the time to do it.
Oh, I will. I'll do it the night before. But Morgan did it Sunday, and I watched her doing it. She's like, "Hey, do you want to do this with me?" And I was in the middle of Sam Walton's book,
Hmm.
Made in America, and I was almost at the end. So I said, "I'll do it the night before, and I'll be fresh, ready to go for you, and I'll be a good student and do my homework, taking it seriously, because I know if I take it seriously, my entire organization will. And when they do, and we all do, and we're on the same page, that's the standard. Communication won't be the number one issue on our issues list for our
Yeah.
company. We can get over the hump on that.
Well, and I'm appreciating you say all that, and also putting in the plug for other people, leaders, that it starts. I've seen it over and over again where this is successful and where it does really well in the business world and in other organizations is where the person at the top really understands the value and is putting in the time for it as well. So thanks for being that model.
100%. And thank you for being here. And for those of you that loved this podcast, make sure that you review it. Okay, give Dr. Bigbie in Apple Podcast reviews. Give her a little shout out. Tell her how it impacted your life, how she made you think about things differently. Maybe this is a brand new concept to you. Maybe you've never even heard of NVC. Maybe you've never even heard of any of this stuff before, and it's an intro to you. Please let us know in Apple reviews. We would love to hear from you. And with that being said, we're going to take it out. Please, Dr. Bigbie.
Sorry, I forgot to mention, I also have a podcast. It's called NVC with Dr. B. And it's all about connection. They're super short, usually like 10-minute little podcasts. I put them out once a week. So if people want to continue their learning or just hearing a little bit more about this, you can also check out our podcast.
Perfect. NVC with Dr. B. With that being said, we'll take it out. Dr. Bigbie, please join us. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.